If you're joining now, welcome. Welcome. We're going to start in a minute. Just waiting for other organizations to join today's webinar. So welcome. Welcome for joining today's session. So you can introduce yourself on chat. Just
So Arnold, I
yeah.
think we need to enable the chat. I think it's not enabled for our attendees to type in. I think
Or
they're
is it
posting Q&A. Um,
okay?
I think
Usman, is it possible to enable that?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Sorry.
Sure.
Joe,
All right.
how are you?
You'll give us a heads up.
Sorry, on the set, I'm not sure how to enable the chat.
Sorry about that, everyone. Confirming chat is now active if everyone would like to introduce themselves.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much. So again, good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome. Thanks for joining us today. So you can start introducing yourself. You can also which organization you're representing today. It's an exciting day today. Again, I'm Arnold Netshambi from Phambano Technology Development Center. We are a registered non-profit organization focusing on technology training and solutions to civil society organizations here in the country. And I see some familiar names on the attendees, so welcome. Today is an exciting day. We're launching QuestionPro for nonprofits. And I've got my guests today. I've got Shaun Fourie. Shaun Fourie is the account director for South Africa and Nigeria. So he's based here in the continent, which is amazing. And we also have Ashad Deshpande, who is the director for education and nonprofit at QuestionPro, who will also take us through today. And in the background, we have Joanna and Usman, and I also have my colleague Sibongile Ndlovu, who is our marketing coordinator. So again, through the partnership that we have with TechSoup, we've and some of your organizations at least have been beneficiaries for years. We've been administering donated and discounted software solutions to organizations here in Southern Africa. So today's launch focusing now, and then again, we have brought in, all these big tech companies for the benefit of organizations here in the continent, so that organizations here have access to software solutions that are much needed for our organizations. So today's launch, it's an amazing one because through the QuestionPro, you have access to online survey software to collect your data and so on. But I'll have my QuestionPro team who take you through all of that today. And of course, the good thing through the QuestionPro, of course, we're launching it today for organizations that are based here in South Africa as a start. So we hope that, as time goes on, we'll also launch to our neighboring countries and, of course, the entire continent. And as you know, many of the organizations, when you register on the TechSoup program, we do validate your organization to check that indeed you are a registered nonprofit organization. But the good thing is that that's the basic information in terms of once you're registered with whether you're registered with DSD as an NPO directorate or with CIPC and you have your NPC certificate or a charitable trust or registered with the South African Revenue Service and you have a PBO letter, then you will be able to benefit on the QuestionPro software. So again, it's an amazing product that Shaun and Ashad will take you through that. And again, if you have any questions about QuestionPro or if you have used any other survey software and you need more information, we'll take you through, but also you can also share some questions here on chat so that we provide support to you on the day. So we have launched the program on TechSoup South Africa. It is available now, so it's good news, and you also be able to benefit as a nonprofit. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Shaun Fourie and Harshad on the podium so that then you can take us through for the day. Thank you. Shaun?
Thank you, Arnold. Thank you for the brief introduction. Like Arnold has said, my name is Shaun Fourie. I'm an account director at QuestionPro, and I'll be leading the webinar today. But before I jump into it, maybe Harshad, if you can just show your face quickly.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Harshad. I'm the Global Higher Education and Nonprofit Director for QuestionPro. Been here for over 10 years and been working closely with many nonprofits just like yours across the globe as well. And I look forward to supporting you all today.
Thanks, Harshad. Yeah, so it's my pleasure and QuestionPro's pleasure to have this webinar with you today. I mean, I was actually quite impressed with the number of participants that's joining, which means there's probably a big need for something like this. But what I didn't try and do today is to try and sell you something. That's not the purpose of this webinar. The webinar's purpose is to provide value to you as an organization. Some of you might remember we did a survey a couple of months ago. I will be sharing some of those insights today. And then through this journey, we'll see what it can offer your organization. So let me jump into it and share my screen. Can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe before I start, who is Shaun Fourie? So obviously you guys don't know me. I'm an account director at QuestionPro, like I mentioned. I've been in the research industry for 15 plus years by now. Most of my career was spent at Ask Africa, a well-known local independent research company in Pretoria. Previously worked at a company called Oricon, care strategy company, doing a lot of mystery shopping, and I'm currently working for QuestionPro. So I joined QuestionPro at the beginning of this year. And I've also got a master's in research psychology. So pretty much embedded in research, fully understand how you need to structure surveys and studies to really bring value to your donors. And that's what I'm trying to bring across today with this discussion. Something personal about me: lived in Pretoria my whole life, have traveled abroad, but never lived in another country or city. I'm happily married with my wife, and I've got 2 boys, 5 and 6. It almost feels like Irish twins. It's very hectic sometimes with small boys. And then obviously I'm a very big Formula One fan, very big Red Bull supporter. And I try to play golf. The reason I say try is because I can't. But I'm trying to still improve with that. So some of you might not be knowing who TechSoup is. So TechSoup is it's a company that tries to transform organizations such as yourself by providing them with affordable technology solutions. And they've been partnered with QuestionPro for almost 8 years now, so since 2016. QuestionPro is probably the leading provider in online survey software globally. We've got over 4.5 million users across 60 countries. And we've got a variety of licenses, from free licenses all the way up to enterprise packages. And we're also partnering with Phambano. So Phambano has also been in partnership with TechSoup since 2016, 2017. So together, all 3 of us have been quite embedded in these relationships over the past 8 years. Phambano, obviously, as you know, like Arnold mentioned, they try to bring value to companies and organizations like yourself, to build capacity for non-profits across South Africa. Quickly on the agenda, some of the things that you might want to take out of this conversation today is: how can you create effective surveys that yield actionable results? So how can you actually design that survey? What do you need to do with results? You can what's some of the best practices for maximizing response rate? I mean, in South Africa, we know SMSs and emails are a very difficult channel to get responses on sometimes. So you really need to do certain things to set yourself apart to really maximize some of those response rates. And then obviously analyzing data for meaningful insight. So how can you analyze the data, tell that story so that your donors and your volunteers really get value out of the research that you do. So first off, when you're designing effective surveys for actionable results, you need to look at how you can refine your needs. And the reason you need to do this is you really need to know what it is that you want to know, what you want to ask before you venture onto this journey. And it's a typical thing with POPI and GDPR, which always comes up, which is if you're not going to use it, don't ask it. So if you're not going to use a telephone number or a location or a company or a name or anything like that in your data, don't ask it. It's not just for shortening the questionnaire or the survey, but it's also for making sure that you don't have information that's not going to add any value to your reports. And then obviously once you're done with that project, you need to delete that information that you're not using. You need to group your thoughts or questions under constructs. It really helps you with your thinking up front to make sure that you know what, I've got these 5 business objectives. I am going to split them up into 3 or 4 constructs, and within each construct, I probably need to ask these 4 or 5 questions. It really helps you just structure the results that you're going to get at the end of the day as well. So when you start doing analysis, it's much more streamlined, it's much more together, versus you've got questions all over the place that are actually tied to each other, but it comes across quite clumsy when someone responds to that survey. And then most of us don't know it all, so don't be afraid to ask an open-ended question. I mean, in recent years, people really don't want to ask an open-ended question because it's like a big headache afterwards. You need to clean the open ends, you need to look at it, someone needs to summarize it. There is tools available that can help with that these days. QuestionPro offers this as well. And what these tools does is it looks at the data, it analyzes the data for sentiment, so you can have a sentiment analysis applied. It structures the data according to themes and topics, and you can really see the data quite quickly in an automated fashion in terms of what they actually say. So yes, if you don't know everything, you probably need to get your constituents or your volunteers to also give feedback, and you can't keep it very structured with only closed-ended responses. Research design is the second step. I often see people don't use screeners, and the reason for screeners, skip logic and non-applicable options is so that you can, at the end of the day, when that survey is completed, you know that the data can be trusted. Screeners are necessary to make sure that the people you're engaging with are the right people you're trying to engage with. So even if you've got an email database of your own community members or the people that you serve, it could be that some of those emails or some of those people have moved to different regions. It could be many different reasons why they don't qualify anymore. So it's always important to add screeners to make sure that you're only looking at the data from people that you want the data to come from. Skip logic, quite important. Often see this also not happening. So sometimes you'll see questions like, how many children do you have? Then you say you don't have any children. And then there's 4 or 5 questions afterwards that comes up and say, in what school are these children in? What some people just do to add non-applicable options. But it comes across very, very flawed, and it becomes a pain for the respondent filling in that survey to trying to give his input, but it's not really reciprocated in terms of effort. Use normal language and anticipate cultural differences. Normal language, obviously, when we translate surveys, sometimes we really go for very high, well-spoken writing of that language. And sometimes it just gets lost, right? So, I mean, a lot of people speak 5, 6, 7 languages, and it's not that they learned those languages at school. It's by learning them through engagements with people within the community, friends, family members, etc. So tone it down, make sure it's very simple, very basic, so there's no confusion when you're asking questions. There's nothing worse than asking a question and the person don't understand what you're asking, and then you're forcing them to respond something because you also don't have a non-applicable option. So really start thinking about those things when you design the survey. At the end of the day, you sometimes want to elevate that language because of your donors and the results you want to give back to them. But think about the respondents first and making sure that there's no confusion in terms of what you're asking. Use question types that make it easy for respondents to answer. Make the survey flow so that it continues from one theme to the next. It's a you can do something like once someone has answered a question, it automatically goes to the next question rather than them selecting next the whole time. So there's small subtle things that you can do to make it much more pleasant for the person answering the survey. And that can really just impact or better your response rate and the people completing the surveys. You can't create a questionnaire if you don't know how you're going to analyze it, right? So I often see a lot of people start off adding like 50, 60, 70 questions. And when it comes to analysis, we only use like 10. And that's where it comes back to when you design it and when you refine your needs, really be clinical in what it is that you're trying to ask. Less is more. And then use tools like, or question types like conjoint, maxdiff, image or video questions, to really make sure that you're getting the right feedback. For some of you don't know how conjoint works, it's essentially a concept test, a statistical question. And the reason people use it is because if you, for example, ask 5 sets of questions, and the question would be, how important is customer experience? 10 out of 10. How important is it for this to be affordable? Very important, or 10 out of 10 important, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the end of the day, everything is important. What do? You don't know what is really driving those decisions. And that's where things like conjoint come in, which uses a mixture of these attributes and questions, and it really helps you understand what's really driving the purchasing or the normal behavior or stuff like that. So use these question types. It is to your favor. It really makes it much more clear afterwards what it is that you need to focus on as an organization. So don't be afraid of using those tools. If you conduct research, make sure you inform respondents of what it is that you're going to do with that data. Where did you get their telephone number or email address? Really be upfront about that. I mean, if you've got a call center, if you've got people phoning people, you often hear people saying, "Where did you get my number?" And I mean, that's not the tone that you really want to take for that survey. So even if you're doing an online survey, there's ways of adding toolkits where you can actually, if people want to know more about where did they get the information or want to know more about your report, they can open it up. But you're not forcing it in people's faces where they do need to read a 10-page long document. So yeah, use those things cleverly. When you report on findings, make sure you position it to the audience, right? So if you're giving feedback to the community, make sure it's toned down and specific for that community. If you're giving feedback to your volunteers or to your donors, make sure it matches those requirements. Don't just create one deck and present it to all of them and hope that it lands in the same way. It just won't. And then what's the so what? You don't want to have a slide deck, a lot of tables, and then at the end of the day, people asking, so what? What does it actually mean? You really need to interpret the data, need to tell the story, because it's the story that sticks in people's mind, and that's the thing that they focus on most. Make it easily accessible. Share it via an online URL or an online link that people can access at any time, and give that back to the people that responded to that survey. A lot of the time when people complete these surveys, we are really hoping that something will change, not necessarily benefit them immediately, but something will happen for the betterment. And it's really important to give feedback to those people as well in a way that they can view it. And I mean, you can even send a WhatsApp with a URL where people can check the reports, or you can send them a PDF, but make it accessible, and make sure that everyone that participated is able to access it. And then just don't write recommendations if you're not going to implement them, right? I often see a lot of times, even when I was at Oscar Africa, we would present something to the client, make a lot of recommendations, then the client was, cool, sounds good, store it on the shelf. We're taking out of it what we want, but they're not really taking the next steps to improve their business or to improve what they're doing. So think carefully when you make recommendations, and think about how you're going to implement them. Another question that I get asked a lot is, how can I maximize response rate? A couple of ways of doing this. And this I actually learned in one of another training training that I attended a couple of months ago, which is you really need to start looking at the subject lines of emails. If it comes across as marketing, it comes across as salesy, people don't open it up, right? They think you're going to sell something, or they can see it's marketing speak. So try and stick to 2 to 3 word subject lines maximum and capitalize each word. That really helps. Don't send from a Gmail or Yahoo. Some of you are forced. That's okay. But if you can send from a reputable or your NPO email address, it really just lifts the response rate. And if they know you, obviously will engage more with you. If they don't know you, they are less likely to engage with you. And that's where you need to start focusing on things like 2-word subject lines. And those subject lines can be something that's familiar to them, right? So it doesn't help you just say marketing conference or marketing webinar as a subject line. People would just ignore that. But if you're dealing with, let's say, disadvantaged children or something like that, and you're trying to reach the parents, you need to make sure that that subject line matches something that will stand out and something that they will identify with. Day and time of day is also quite important. We found that Tuesdays and Thursdays are the best for sending out surveys. Makes sense. Mondays, people are coming back to work, trying to catch up on what they missed because they didn't put a lot of effort maybe in on a Friday. So there's a lot of emails, a lot of meetings. So Tuesdays and Thursdays work quite well. 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock is probably the best time to send it. That's just after they've arrived at work, they've read all the different emails, or they've done a few things, and now they're actually a little bit more capacity to do something else. And then the first and the last week of a month is also quite successful. Last week of a month, just before payday, if there's incentive offered, it really helps to drive participation. First week of a month, or the debit orders just went off, so you're also maybe looking for a little bit of cash. So those periods are quite successful for getting your better response rate. Keep it short, right? So 5 to 10 minutes is optimal. After 10 minutes, people really start dropping off. If there's nothing in it for them, they won't complete the survey, maybe even after 8 minutes. So really keep it short and to the point. And like I've said, screeners is really important, but it's also important to put them at the front. There's nothing worse than someone filling in 10 questions, and then on question 11, they screened out, and then they wasted all of their time. So really make sure your screeners are the first few questions that you ask. And then refer to the terms and conditions. John just showed it, which I've already spoken about. You can translate it into multiple languages. We found that 90% of people actually prefer English, even if English is not your home language. But if you're struggling with hard to reach targets, you can opt to translate it. And then it can really help boost that little bit extra that you can gain. But in most cases, English is probably sufficient. And then people enjoy surveys more when it's visually pleasing, right? So a lot of people have seen Microsoft Forms surveys or Google surveys and stuff like that. And it's really not engaging. It's really not driving or helping you with your brand CI or anything like that, and really making an impact where people recognize your brand. They recognize what it is that you're doing. So make it as visual as possible. Add your logos. Make sure that it matches your color scheme, and make it pleasing for people to complete the survey. Don't just ask questions one after the next that's repetitive and the same. Think a little bit differently and ask questions maybe in a grid format, or make it a little bit easier for people to use. And then, like I've said, use conjoint and question stuff like that to really aid you. Don't just stick to one channel. Use email, SMS, WhatsApp, face-to-face, or telephonic. It really drives the participation. So people have preferences, right? So some people only check the emails once a week. Some people don't look at SMS because it's only spam, but WhatsApp is probably the preferred channel. So use all the different channels available to you to drive that success rate. And then if you can, offer incentives or a lucky draw. Incentives sometimes becomes tricky because it becomes expensive quite quick. But a lucky draw could be something that can really boost your response rate. Even if it's like a 5,000 or a 1,000 Rand take a lot voucher, whatever it is, as long as there's something in it for people, they sometimes really appreciate that, and then we'll do a little bit more for you. So yeah, you might be asking, why does surveys matter to nonprofits? Well, you need to engage with your donors, right? And you need to provide tangible evidence that what it is that you're doing is the best for what they've invested in your NPO. So by doing surveys, doing an impact assessment, it's one way of showing tangible proof that, you know, this is what we're doing, this is the impact, and this is how it's serving you. And it's also personalized feedback, right? So it allows donors to let their voice be heard and create a long-term buy-in from donors. So it also puts their brand out there, so that it also creates that brand equity. You want to empower your volunteers. So acknowledgement and appreciation of the people that help you on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. You want to give back to them as much as they give to you. You're also giving them an opportunity for feedback so that they can, perhaps in an anonymous way, give feedback to you as an organization on what it is that you can improve, or what their experience has been like, or what they think you should be doing better or doing differently. So that's quite critical in terms of what you can do with it, and then also build a sense of community. Consistent surveys foster a sense of belonging and connection, and it really opens up those channels for two-way communication. Serving constituent, which is all about at the end of the day. So providing actionable insights. So service that allows nonprofits to identify areas of strength and areas of improvement. You'll learn quite a lot when engaging with constituents in terms of what it is that you need to do, what it is you need to improve on. And it really opens up that two-way communication in terms of what your focus should be. It enhances accountability. When you are committed to being transparent and getting feedback from your constituents, they will also hold you accountable to deliver on your promises, and really create that mutual accountability and transparency that you need. So what I'll be doing now is I'll jump into the analysis of a survey, and I've used one of the tools called QuestionPro BI. And before I maybe start, you also might be asking this QuestionPro, right? So QuestionPro is a SaaS company. We've been in existence since 2004. We're founder-owned, and we've got a variety of solutions. I'm not going to go into detail on any of this, but we've got tools for communities. If you want to create up your own community, for qual solutions, we've got services, which is, if you don't know how to design a server, we can help you. If you don't know how to analyze that, then we can help you, stuff like that. If you want to tap into panels, we can help with that as well. And then we've got different types of solutions, but please do check us out online if you're really interested in those types of products. So we ran a survey a couple of months ago. We got 67 completed responses. Thank you very much for participating. If you're some of those that's on the webinar today. And then we ran this, like I said, in about the middle of July, or just before the end of that month. We asked a couple of questions, one being number of employees and volunteers. Most of you have less than 50 volunteers and employees, which shows that it's really tight, it's very focused, where some of you actually had quite a large base of volunteers. Some of our NPOs came from smaller areas, but most came from Gauteng, Western Cape, and KZN, which makes sense because those are the big metros. Some of the questions we asked was, what's the current challenges, strategies you use to overcome challenges, or what's the type of support that you need? And a resounding 75% of you said the main challenge that you're facing is funding, and securing that funding, and having a consistent flow of funding that can really put you at ease in terms of growing the organization and really bringing about change. Some of the other responses were volunteer retention, community engagement, but it all essentially comes down to funding. What was the main strategy you used to overcome some of the challenges? A lot of it comes down to partnerships. So if you partner with other NPOs, or you've got collaborations or partnership with other organizations, it's a really good way of finding new avenues for funding, or finding new ways of scaling, and it's really a good way of also increasing your impact with your organization. Increased digital impact, it's something that continues to increase. People continue to use social media channels, email, WhatsApp, etc. Driving that continuous digital engagement really builds on your brand, and it really makes a better impact for your NPO. Diversified funding sources, so not just grants or donors, but really looking at other channels of also getting getting some funding for. And then what type of support do you need? Typically, or similarly to funding, it all comes down to financial support. But there's also other needs, right? So training and capacity building, networking opportunities. And the networking opportunity for me signifies that there's more that can be done in terms of partnerships and collaboration. That's something that people can really start benefiting from a little bit more. Some of the groups that people are targeting, the overwhelming number of you are targeting children and really providing services and support to them. But a lot of you also do all of it, right? So you don't have one specific focus. You've really branched out into women, elderly, unemployed, etc., providing services that's mostly needed within that community and not just focusing on a specific demographic or specific need. But still, children is the biggest cause of concern where the most help is needed and spent at the moment. We've actually got quite a lot of great success stories from you guys. I've read through a couple of them, and it's actually amazing to see some of the changes that you guys bring, ranging from we implemented a tap for a community, or we helped this community build a house. Some of the basic stuff that some of us might not even think of really brings a lot of change for these people that need it most. And by the way, I'll share these results afterwards, that you can go in and you can look at the data and play with it. You can apply filters and stuff like that. So don't worry about missing any of this. So primary sources of funding, donations and grants. It's 72% of the time those are the primary sources of funding. And then people also are finding other ways of gaining funding. And this is where some of the diversifying your funding is coming in from corporate sponsorships or social enterprise activities. So people are definitely looking at other ways of also securing funding. But some of the biggest challenges is the limited donor base, right? So how can you actually overcome this issue as well, combined with the economic downturn? I mean, if your donor is, let's say it's an international donor, the exchange rate sometimes causes a little bit of a concern. It's a little bit less money because the rand is improving against the dollar. So there's a lot of things that you actually need to consider. But the one thing that it seems like everyone is struggling with is the limited donor base. And then what's the plan for the future funding that you need, right? It all basically comes down to diversifying your funds and diversify and creating partnerships and collaborations with other NPOs and organizations. And this is where this comes in a little bit more. So we've asked you, do you have a partnership? There's actually 34% of you said that you don't have any partnerships, which means that there's still room for some of you to really get out there and have these discussions with other NPOs. And some of the feedback is you actually don't know how to go about it, right? So you don't know who to speak to, you don't know how to find a suitable partner. And that is also where people on this webinar today can really come in to create a sense of community where people can start sharing knowledge, sharing training with each other to really, as a whole, uplift the NPO industry, so to say. And then a lot of you actually do participate in coalitions or networkings. You do have partnerships with organizations, and you are seeing a lot of success when doing that. This would be one of the free text questions we asked, which was, why don't you have a partnership with any other organization? And a lot of you said you're unable to find a suitable partner, or communication and capacity issues. You just don't have the people to help with this. You're just swamped with all the stuff that you're doing, or you actually don't have a physical premise, right? So you're actually working out of your house. So maybe there's not something that you can offer. So what are some of the benefits you receive from existing collaborations? Funding and support coming from those collaborations, coming from those partnerships, mutually beneficial to both NPOs or more than one or two NPOs. Yeah. From a marketing perspective, the channels that you guys use mostly is social media. Word of mouth is a little bit low. And then you've got email and people that said all of the above. When you're looking at what are some of the main challenges in marketing, the limited base of supporters and stakeholders was amongst the most mentioned, just because it's very difficult to find these people, difficult to find access to them, and that's something that's probably a little bit of an issue that needs to be resolved if it is going to improve at all. Social media platforms used. Facebook still a very prominent social media platform that people are using. X quite low. TikTok very low, which is actually surprised me a little bit. I would have thought that more people are getting onto TikTok to really share stories and really driving that marketing engine that you need, right? Still a lot. Some of you use Instagram, and then WhatsApp is also increasing a little bit. So that's one channel that can definitely continue to increase and to continue driving positive engagement. Some of the goals that you've mentioned, we asked like, what's your NPS goals for the next 5 years? What support do you need? And a lot of it comes from, we need fundraising, we need resources, we need marketing software, or we need more volunteers, training. So it's a very diversified pool of what it is that people need. But what it is that you're trying to do in the next 5 years is you're trying to only get to a consistent source of funding, right? So you want something that's a little bit more stable. You want something that's a bit more predictable so that you can actually start implementing what it is that your NPO wants to implement and worry a little bit less about the funding. And then scaling. So it goes hand in hand with funding, right? So if you don't have any funding, you can't scale, and vice versa. So that's the two main things that other NPOs or most NPOs are focusing on for the next 5 years. When we asked the question on data collection, we really just wanted to try and understand what it is that you guys are currently doing to show value. And quite a lot of you actually do impact assessments. Now, some of you that's not familiar with impact assessments, there's various types of impact assessments, but it is trying to understand what it is the impact of what it is that you're doing as an NPO and measuring that in a way that that's quite factual so that you can show value back to your donors. Others of you are maybe doing a little bit more simplistic view of that, maybe just some surveys with donors or surveys with volunteers or constituents. And then a lot of you actually do qual, which is focus groups or in-depth interviews and really trying to get feedback from the people in terms of what it is that you need to do as an NPO. So we also asked this question, which is, if some of these tools were quite affordable, would you consider using this? And there was a resounding 92% of you that said yes. So I've added this piece in here, and the reason. So let me put it this way. So when you go onto our webpage and you look at a licensing option, the advanced license actually costs you like something like 20,000 rand. But given our heritage and given our focus on NPOs, we've now brought this NPO offering to South Africa as well, which is like a 90% discount of an annual license fee. And then it comes to around 1,900 rand per year, so it's not on a monthly basis. And this is really an affordable way for your organization to really get out there, get feedback from donors or constituents or community members, and start leveraging tech like QuestionPro or other tech to really start showing value so that you can increase your donor base, so that you can increase your partnerships that you've got. So we'll be sharing this after the webinar today. If you want to find out more, you can reach out to us. But this is a very affordable way of actually gaining what it is that you currently don't have. And then in conclusion, some of the key findings. So what's needed, right? So the biggest and the main challenges is consistent funding. It's something that it seems to be becoming more prevalent, and it's something that there's no real solution for at the moment, other than diversifying your funding base and getting into a lot of partnerships and stuff like that. But the limited donor base is also making it difficult to gain funding. And then also, how do you actually go about getting in contact with other donors, and how do you get to the right people that can really make a difference? So that's something that I think Phambano and TechSoup we also see, and it's something where we can probably try and bring some light to. There's a shared concern amongst NPOs to help children, like I've showed you, which really, I mean, not myself not being an NPO, it's a sad situation to see that so many children are in need, but that's something where more can be done and more funding needs to be placed. There's quite a lot of you that lack the partnerships with other NPOs. Based on the data, I think that's an easy win for some of you that's struggling with funding, struggling with diversifying your funds. It's a really easy way to get back in and to start scaling your business, right? Some is success stories. So what is actually working? Diversifying your funding, like I've said, and not only grants and donors, but also other options like maybe corporate partnerships and stuff like that. Increase your digital engagement. Don't just do a once-off campaign. Be consistent, right? So if you are doing a digital campaign, if it's via email or WhatsApp or Facebook, really be consistent and do those things on a weekly or a monthly basis, so people can continuously engage with you, continuously see that you are relevant and you're trying to bring about change. And in ways of alleviating some of these concerns is by partnering. That's all that I'm sharing today. I really hope that you found a lot of value in this. And then, like I've said, I'll share the presentation decks afterwards. You don't miss anything out. But I think from my side, thank you very much. And then I'll hand it back to Arnold.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Shaun. Clearly, we also learned a lot in terms of maximizing response rates. Had no idea about Tuesday and Thursdays being the best time to actually send a newsletter. So there's so much that we learned on your presentation, Shaun. I know there are a couple of questions here, which will, Harsh, I know you've been responding to some of those questions. I don't know if we can bring them to the fore, but before you do that, so we're supposed to also be joined by Jordan from Wits University, who sent his apologies because of due to family matters, but he shared his recording, which will play towards the end. I don't know, Harsh, can we share some of those questions so that then everyone can then have an idea of what those questions were?
Absolutely. I mean, very interesting questions, everyone. Thank you so much for posting them in the chat and the Q&A as well. So one question that I wanted to bring up is like, well, does QuestionPro have an integration with Salesforce? Yes, we certainly do. So if you're using CRMs of any sort, you can integrate with with QuestionPro and then have surveys sent out through the platform seamlessly as well. So we can do that. Another question that came up was like about is this TechSoup license available for all the countries? Right. So certainly it is available through TechSoup. So you can reach out to TechSoup or just send us an email at nonprofit@questionpro.com, and we'll be more than happy to assist you set up your account and your license with QuestionPro as well. I've just put up the email address in the chat for you all to take a note of. It is nonprofit@questionpro.com. Really easy to remember. Send us an email there with a note about your company and the details of your project, and we'll help you get that up as well and running. And
Awesome.
then I think there was one more question.
No, continue. Yeah, I think there was one from Kathy and Sophia.
Yeah, right. So I think there was one question from Kathy. Can we use the same guidelines for newsletters? Certainly. Yeah, I mean, Shaun, thanks for sharing those guidelines. I definitely encourage you all to use those guidelines for newsletters. Some of our nonprofit customers also embed surveys as a part of their newsletters to drive insights along with providing value to all the exciting stuff that you're doing in the region. So certainly we can embed a survey in a newsletter as well. So feel free to try that out as a practice, as a part of your initiative.
Thank you. I think we've lost Arnold there. You back, Arnold? You just muted.
Yes, I'm back. I don't know what happened. Sorry. I'm here. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think from our side, I think we've answered all the questions. So maybe just back to you.
Okay, so thanks so much. And I mean, it's amazing, Shaun, in terms of, getting 90% discount. I mean, this is amazing for us as NPOs, and a great presentation, Shaun. So again, some of you were asking if we'll share the recording. So the recording will be shared with everyone so that you have access to it. And I know some of our neighboring organizations, or some NPOs in our neighboring countries have joined, which is great, and welcome again. So as Harsh has mentioned, you can send an email directly to QuestionPro, and they will be able to support you. So for organizations here in South Africa, you do need to register on TechSoup South Africa. And if you're registered already, you will be able to get the QuestionPro for nonprofits at that admin fee, and then you will have all the subscriptions for your organization. Shaun, should we play the video from Wits University?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So don't go away. We're still going to wrap up.
Hello, everyone. I hope this message found you well. First, I want to apologize for not making it to this wonderful opportunity, to this wonderful webinar. Family responsibilities have kept me away from my desk. However, I could not miss the opportunity to share an exciting news with you guys. So, what is exciting about this thing is a tool that has been a game changer for NGO around the globe. Whether you are in education, technology, healthcare, and community development, you name them, QuestionPro is there for you. This amazing tool has been designed to help you ask the right question, gather vital data, and allow you to make an informed decision in a fraction of time. I don't want to use the word that you almost know, instantly. However, this tool, this amazing tool, gives you the opportunity to even gather information from customers or stakeholders from the remote location. You'll be able to analyze them and help you get an informed decision out of the tool. But beyond the tool and the amazing work that can be provided and what the tool can do to help you achieve more, I want to commend their support team. The QuestionPro support team is an amazing team. They work around the clock. They can expect you, they can assist you even out of working hours. So my message is simple. Please, after this webinar, make sure you sign up even for a trial version. Let you test what this tool is capable of providing, and you will tell me. Thank you for listening to my short videos. Guys, I could not miss this opportunity. That's why I had to do a selfie video just to tell you good things about this product, this tool. Guys, thank you. And once again, apologies for not making it.
Awesome. So, Shaun, is there a link where organizations, if they want to get a trial version, do they need to go to QuestionPro website, or is there a direct link that organizations can start their trial version before they can get the proper license?
I think yes, there's both. So you can go to our website. You can download or you can sign up for an essentials license, which is a free license. And then if you're interested in the NPO offering, we'll also send you those details as well in terms of what you can do to sign up for that. So yeah, there's quite a few options.
Great.
I think-
And again, Asha, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we have a couple of questions coming into the Q&A, so I'll answer a couple of more. So we have one from Sharon. Can we get specialized support and design instruments? We tried a specific type of question in a grid format, but it didn't seem to work. Certainly, reach out to our amazing support team through chat on our website. You can go to QuestionPro.com, open up a quick chat support and help, get assistance for any of your question design. You can also just send out an email to nonprofit@questionpro.com to set up a one-on-one meeting if you need any assistance from one of our reps, and they will reach out to you and help you with any of your projects as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us. We have one more question. And do you also support initiatives that works with schools? Yes, certainly. We support all initiatives for nonprofits. So, feel free to just reach out to us. Tell us a bit more about your projects, and we'll help and advise you with the best, support that we can to this initiative. Another question that comes up is, does the system do any other analysis like crosstabs, correlation, and so on? Yeah, certainly. The tool is really powerful. You can do crosstabs, correlation, max diff analysis, conjoint analysis, trend, turf, and actually a lot more. And even a side-by-side comparison if you want to go ahead and see changes of what initiatives, have, been made and what kind of progress you want, has been made onto the region or, the initiative of the survey. So all that is, easily available on our platform. So definitely sign up. You can go to questionpro.com and sign up for a free trial. And yes, definitely go to the TechSoup website and get yourself registered as a TechSoup nonprofit. There is one more question. Is there an expiry date for the discounted rate, providing time to motivate our organization? Well, great question. The TechSoup QuestionPro license is an annual license. You can definitely renew it, obviously. So if you've got ongoing initiatives for multiple years, certainly, first of all, get your annual license started with QuestionPro via TechSoup. And once that's done, you can obviously, come in and reach out to TechSoup for renewal as well, or reach out to QuestionPro. Both companies will definitely help you get started and have your license renewed smoothly.
There's another one here from Dava. How basic and limited is the free option?
Great question. So in terms of the license that we've set up for nonprofits, right, you have an option to design a survey with over, up to 300 questions on the survey, right? You can actually use various question types. We have access to all the basic and some of the advanced question types that are supported into this program. And it's pretty easy to use as well. So you can actually go ahead and sign up and get started with the survey immediately. In terms of features, it is feature rich. It is actually equipped with at least all the essentials that are required for nonprofits, right? And we've got over 5,000 nonprofits globally who are already using QuestionPro to support all of their needs. So you can just imagine, this initiative is just going to be helpful enough to make sure that you're able to run any of those programs that you need. But yeah, if you need specific questions on that, or if you have specific questions on the license, feel free to reach out to us at nonprofit@questionpro.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Harsh and Shaun. So again, lastly, from our side, would like to appreciate you all NPOs for joining our launch today. And as we said, QuestionPro is now available. And you can request it directly from TechSoup South Africa. And for our neighboring countries, you can send an email to nonprofit@questionpro.com, and Harsh and the team will be able to assist you and respond. And lastly, Shaun, Harsh, they're available to support you and will also share their details, and they will be able to provide support. Shaun, Harsh, any last words?
I think from us, I just thank you.
Sure.
Go, guys.
Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, so definitely, thank you so much for hosting this webinar with us. One of the things is like we are really, privileged to get an opportunity to work with all of these nonprofits globally, and then, we, love supporting your mission. So we'll definitely be there to help you. Me and my team are responsible for making sure everything gets set up for you. So do reach out to us. I'm also just putting in my email address in the chat for you right now, just in case if you want to connect with me personally. And yeah, hit us up on LinkedIn, hit us up on our email for any support that you need. Thank you again. Over to you, Shaun.
Cool.
Thanks, George. So I think just echoing what you said, but also adding, thank you for having us today. Thank you for bringing us into your community, Arnold, to make it available for us to share our story and what it is that we're offering. And I hope that people really found that useful and that there's something that they can take out of it. So I think from us, I just thank you very much. And yeah, hit us up on LinkedIn or email. Happy to engage. Yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I mean, again, we can't thank you enough. It's a great partnership, especially to support NPOs instead of having to pay the retail price, you get 90% discount. So imagine, it's not even like, 40%, but 90% discount. So again, organizations, if you need any support, if you need any assistance, get in touch with us. We appreciate you and thanks so much. So can't thank you enough. I think it's I've done many of the thanks. So thank you all. And again, thanks for the partnership with QuestionPro to support our nonprofits here in the continent. Thank you.